Well, it's Friday here on Daybreak, which means it's time for Mike, the auto guy Davidson of Parkway Automotive, to take more of your car-related questions. Mike, welcome back.
Yep, good to be back
and
again.
Happy birthday a little bit in advance.
Just a little bit, yeah. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, and you and I are strikingly similar in age.
Yes, amazingly.
Or you will be.
I will be. Yeah, you're much older than I am.
We're both, yeah, at least 2 weeks.
At least 2 weeks.
We both turned 31 this year, just for your information,
yeah,
folks. Yeah. We already have several callers on the line. We've already started off on a bad note.
We're 3-1.
Let's take our first call from Kim in Pine Bluff. Good morning, Kim.
Good morning.
Go ahead with your question. Yeah.
Mike, my question is, I've got an '02 Ford Explorer, and it's the all-wheel drive all the time, so it doesn't go off into two-wheel ever.
Yeah.
I was having a fuse problem. When I would accelerate, it would blow a 15-amp fuse under my in my fuse box, and it would just shut my truck down completely, wouldn't even turn on. All I could get was a radio on it. And I had my son, who's 17, go change some fuses, and unbeknownst to me, he put a 30-amp fuse where the 15 is.
Yeah.
Now I have, that drove for a couple of weeks. It blew that 30-amp fuse, and now I'm completely disabled.
Wow. Yeah, right.
Is that going to be very expensive?
Well, there's an old saying in our industry that if you let the smoke out of the wire, it doesn't work anymore.
Right.
Okay. Right. And when he put the higher fuse in there, that's very dangerous because every circuit on your vehicle is meant to carry a certain amperage. And when you put a higher fuse in there than what it's called for, then you're just allowing that heat to continue more than it's designed to carry. And so you have a high risk of a fire when you do that. All right. So, but most likely what's happened is because he put the 30-amp fuse, he's let the smoke out of the wire.
Yeah.
And that wire is wherever that short was that was causing that fuse to blow is now the wire's probably actually broken in two.
There's a problem somewhere.
It's a direct short to ground is what that's termed as. And so you want to be careful. Remember this: fuses do not wear out. All right.
Right.
When a fuse continues to blow, there is an electrical problem that needs to be resolved. And so, yes, you're going to have to get it in. Fortunate thing, it's already isolated to a circuit. Maybe a little bit harder for the technician to find the fact that it's blown, but he's just going to need to go through the wiring process and find it, because that wire's now going to be short. I'd be looking for a really dark spot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Or something's blown up somewhere.
That's right.
You don't keep putting a bigger amperage fuse in there.
No, don't ever do that.
Right. Kim, thanks a lot. I hope that helps you out. Joyce from Dermot is up next. Hi, Joyce.
Hi.
Good morning, Joyce.
How are you?
We're doing good.
I have a 05 500 Ford, and when I run my air conditioner, there's a circle of dampness on my carpet on the driver's side, and I can't figure out where the dampness is coming from. It's not coming from the inside. It must be from the bottom.
Well, what is actually happening, the evaporator case that's on every vehicle that has air conditioning is underneath the dash, and there is a drain tube that allows condensation that normally builds up in that case when you run your air conditioning to get that condensation out onto the ground. You've probably seen it, little puddles of water. And there are a lot of times in some locations that there can be someone over in the passenger side, and they stick their foot up high enough they can actually kick that little drain hose off.
Oh, no.
Instead of the condensation going outside the car, it goes inside the car. Now it goes right up against the firewall, goes right underneath the carpet, and it shows up right down here in the bottom of the floor for it.
Could it also be, could the tube be stopped up or something up in it too, and causing it back up?
That's right. So you could also clean it out, make sure it's connected, clean it out, and then that should get that condensation out there. Now the bigger issue, of course, is that water that's inside the car, because you may be feeling a little bit on the top, and maybe you can vacuum that carpet, but I'll tell you, that needs to be pulled back. In some cases, you want to replace the padding, because the padding is just a big sponge. And it'll hold that water. So we want to be sure and get that moisture out of the car and make sure that sponge is dry, or that padding is dry. In many cases, we actually have to replace that padding, which is not an expensive ordeal. I'm just saying this is the right way to fix it so that it's completely dry.
Yeah, which is what you do at Parkway Automotive. You fix it the right way. Let's do that. All right, caller 3 from Hot Springs, Michelle, is up next.
Good morning.
Good morning, Michelle.
Well, good morning. I have a question about, I have an '04 Lincoln Town Car, and when I took my car in to have the oil change, they suggested I use a synthetic oil, and it was quite a bit more expensive. Is it really better to use that?
I think that is a great question because there's a lot of people who are going to want to hear my answer to that question. First of all, oil gets contaminated whether it is synthetic or synthetic blend or it's the traditional oil. Sure. But one thing for sure we know about synthetic oils or synthetic blends, they do lubricate better. Also, the oil change intervals can be a little bit longer with synthetics because of that. But I want to be careful with certain driving conditions. That oil can still get contaminated. Short runs, for example, you're still going to have an excessive amount of fuel that gets into the oil. See, the heat takes that fuel out of that oil whenever you've run and have gotten to operating temperature. So the oil can still be contaminated, to answer your question. Yes, it does lubricate the engine better, and it can really help that. Also can help the fuel mileage as well, just a little bit. Okay. So, yeah, and a lot of the manufacturers have actually gone to a 520 blend right out of the factory, which is a blend of traditional oil and synthetic oil. Okay. So, yeah, if you don't mind spending the extra money and you have it available, yeah, it's okay to put some synthetic in there.
But it still gets dirty. You're still got to have it changed out.
That's right. That's
Mike,
right.
thanks so much.
As always, my pleasure.
Here's the information for Mike. He's at Parkway Automotive. You head out west on Chenal Parkway, and it's at 708 Kirk Road in Little Rock. Follow the signs. There's a big sign on Chenal Parkway there. Thanks so much for being in here. Have a great weekend and a great birthday, man.
Oh, I will. Yeah, I'm going to.
All right.